Chapter 1394. Elderine took a deep breath. What was she doing? Was this a declaration of justice? Didn't she know whether she was a good person or not? Elder Gu turned around and said, "Principal, she's already apologized. There's no need to continue pursuing the matter, right?" This was the first time the principal had met someone who thought he was too troublesome. Bei Yunsh, remember this punishment. Don't mess around in the future, understand? Otherwise, Yun Qing would be overturned by her sooner or later. Okay. Bei Yunsh thought for a moment and nodded. When she walked slowly in front of Wang Guanchen instinctively covered his face with his hands in fear. It was as if he was afraid of being beaten. Bei Yunsh thought of how Wang Guanchen had been beaten up on the way and raised her eyebrows. She left without asking anything. It was only the next day that she found out that she was on the trending list again. Sure, you're playing dirty with me. Bei Yunsh had just finished showering after her morning run. When she saw the news, she slowly wiped her wet hair and her sneer made one's heart palpitate. Even Jian she lost in the last round of the competition yesterday. Song Yao frowned and thought of Xiang Jing again. K University was really planning to win by hook or by crook. Really? Then I have to go and see if our Jian is crying. Bei Yunsh said with interest. Usually, when Batiki and Jess finished the experiment in a few hours the next night, they would run over and cry silently. Song Yao was speechless. Bei Yunsh said, "Also, investigate who beat up Wang Guanchen for no reason. He even made her take the blame." Song Yao choked on her water. On the competition platform of Yun University. This time Bei Yunsh came quite early, so she was the first to be targeted by Huang Zui. "Pei, do we have some time to talk?" Huang Zui's eyes lit up. Previously, he had been busy looking for someone among the doctoral students and graduate students, hoping that someone could win against K University. In the end, he had forgotten about this person. Wasn't he blindly looking for someone else when the king was right in front of him? "I'm not free. I still have to write a reflection." Bei Yunsh bit the soy milk wrapped in a transparent bag and planned to pull Song Yao away. "If you win, I'll plead for you. The punishment has also been rescinded." Bei Yunsh turned to her. "All the punishments for this year?" Huang Zui, was he trying to take advantage of the situation? Backstage, Bei Yunsh decided to tell Huang Zui the truth. "Actually, I was planning to come." Huang Zui began to feel that the next 3.5 years would be very difficult to endure. He watched as Bei Yunsh tidied up her white coat and prepared to go out. Can he really win? As a professor, Huang Zui couldn't help but feel nervous. He leaned closer to her and said, "This group is really here to cause trouble." Bei Yunsh slowly clipped the pen into the pocket of her white lab coat. She sneered softly. Her unruly youthfulness did not dissipate. She looked up nonchalantly. "Is that so? Since they're already here, why don't they kowtow before going back?" After that, Huang Zui was stunned for a long time. Until the entrance. Huang Zui originally wanted to say that this guy was being led by the nose by this guy's erratic behavior. However, his thoughts were interrupted by the other party's words. "Your school has to work harder this time. I still hope that the competition this time will be evenly matched." When the people from K University saw Jianxi in the spectator stand, they puffed out their chests and looked arrogant, as if they would win in the next moment. Even Jianxi was not around. They wanted to see what tricks Yun University had up their sleeves. An old acquaintance. Hearing this familiar and casual voice, the people from K University and the leading professor froze. They suddenly felt like they had seen a ghost. Chapter 1395. Then, the main force of the competition and the professors looked at a familiar face. Their hair stood on end. Why would this person appear here? Why didn't you greet me? You made me quite sad. Bei Yunsh slowly put on her black gloves and said lazily, "Lucien Shimanman, I've missed you for the past year." Lucien and Shimanman felt their scalps turn numb. They wanted to escape from this world. *CK. Can you shut up? Seeing her, they remembered the days when Bei Yunsh was an exchange student at K University. This was the first price they had to pay for their youth and ignorance. Because they discriminated against the women of Country A and did not take Bei Yunsh seriously, they were traumatized by this person during every research assessment. A few days ago when they came to Yun Qing, there were even people who had nightmares about Bei Yunsh. "You are a Yun University student?" Professor Simonov found it hard to accept the truth and his vision turned dark. During this exchange at Yun University, he had completely forgotten about this person who had caused the entire K University to be autistic a year ago. "You know each other?" The principal was stunned. What was going on? How can she participate in the competition? After Semenov regained his senses, he pointed at Bei Yunj and questioned Yun University, his face filled with resistance. She's a student of our school. What's wrong? Why can't she participate in the competition? Huang Zui straightened his neck. Semenov was so angry that he couldn't speak. Don't think that I can't find out what happened at K University yesterday. If you dare to fish in troubled waters again, you can try to get someone else to represent you in the competition. Huang Zui chuckled. I want to see if K University is shameless. Yunj, don't be afraid. If they want to play dirty, I'll beat them to death. You. What a boorish man. If Semenov wasn't pulled back, he would have started fighting with Huang Zui. On the other hand, the physics student beside him sighed. Our Professor Huang is still the best. He fights whoever he catches. Lucien walked in front of Bei Yunj and could not help asking, are you really going to participate in the competition? He couldn't figure it out. Why would Bei Yunj appear in Yun University? Your university sent me to the social news yesterday, saying that our Yun University couldn't win the competition. Yun University students were so angry that they beat up the brother of a professor from K University. Bei Yunj looked at them again and said slowly, that's good. I've never been so angry in my life. The K University students. The atmosphere suddenly turned eerily silent. So the person who hit Wang Guanchen yesterday was Bei Yunj. Regarding this matter, Lucian's expression was unsightly, but he couldn't explain anything. They were indeed the ones who deliberately spread the news. However, the person who hit Wang Guanchen was Bei Yunj. They would never get involved in this mess and offend Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj smiled unhurriedly and said, all right, I just didn't expect you guys to miss me so much. We haven't seen each other for more than a year. It's good for us to have an academic exchange. Those who still remembered the fear of being dominated by Bei Yunj, could anyone get rid of this B*****? The freshmen of K University didn't understand why these seniors, who were all influential figures in school, were so afraid of this unfamiliar Yun University student. Even Professor Semenov objected to Yun University letting her compete. Professor Wang, you don't have to hide it this time. You can compete yourself. Bei Yunj glanced at Wang Huiying with a faint smile and went to the competition stage first. Wang Huiying bit her lip, but remembered the humiliation of losing to Bei Yunj back then. Her entire body was trembling. It was time for the competition. Yunj, do you know the people from K University? Huang Zui asked curiously. I know them. Bei Yunj said casually as she scrolled through the comments under the trending topics. Huang Zui? That was it? Huang Zui snatched Bei Yunj's phone away. Bei Yunj looked up at him. I used to study at K University for a period of time. In the past? You were in your second year of high school, right? Bei Yunj thought for a moment. My brother was afraid that I would have nothing to do, so he sent me there. Huang Zui didn't expect that someone from the Qin family would have the connections to send Bei Yunj, who was in her second year of high school, to K University as an exchange student. However, he couldn't help but be surprised that Bei Yunj was only in her second year of high school, but she could keep up with the pace of K University's teaching. Huang Zui, you studied in the physics department? Bei Yunj thought for a moment. I've also studied in the physics department. She would occasionally attend classes in the physics department, computer science department, chemistry department, nuclear engineering department, and any other major that she could visit. Huang Zui, suddenly he didn't want to ask any more. After the competition started, the host smiled and warmed up the atmosphere, letting both parties speak on stage. However, when the host handed the microphone to Bei Yunj, the principal of Yun University's smile froze. He had a bad feeling. He didn't know if Yun University could win this time, but Bei Yunj's speech definitely wouldn't be good. Just as expected. When Bei Yunj's bright and arrogant face appeared on the big screen, the atmosphere in the venue soared. Screams rose and fell, making people think that this was the appearance of a top celebrity. On the other hand, the camera of the students from the photography team and the evil cult actually flashed and glanced at Song Yao below the stage. The heated scene became even more sensational. The officials were starting to promote a couple. Song Yao's eyelids twitched. Junior, you're so popular. Don't you have anything to say? The senior hostess asked with a smile, and her eyes were shining. Bei Yunj nodded slightly and leaned close to the microphone. Suddenly she smirked. She said gently and leisurely, I haven't thought of what to say yet. Let's talk after we win. The suppressed emotions of the students below the stage for the past few days were ignited. Master Pei is awesome. It's coming, it's coming. It's starting again. The contestants from K University were speechless. Damn. Suddenly, a student below the stage raised his voice. Master Pei, don't cry if you lose. The atmosphere inexplicably livened up, but everyone knew that they hoped that Bei Yunj would not feel so much pressure. Bei Yunj's red lips curled up and she suddenly grabbed the senior's hand. She leaned close to the microphone and dragged her voice lazily. Alright, don't shout if you win. I'm done. This woman is being dirty in public. Bei, let go of senior's hand, do you hear me? The host blushed. Bei Yunj retracted her hand and tilted her head with a smile. It was as if she had heard the words below the stage, but could not hide her high spirits and frivolous arrogance. Seeing this, Bei Yunj's young fans in school almost lost their blood. Actually, Bei Yunj did not expect that the people who spoke up for her on the trending searches this time were all students of Yun University. She did not even know anyone. These people were purely protecting her. It also seemed like she had said it before. Someone was protecting her and placing their hopes in her. When the competition started, it was supposed to be a question segment. Who would have thought that the situation would be reversed as soon as the competition started? Usually, K University would not be able to get a single point in this segment. However, before the contestants from K University could even finish reading the questions, Bei Yunj pressed the answer button and quickly scored. It was as if everyone was accompanying her through the process. All the contestants in the venue were under her control. Before long, the freshmen from K University finally understood why the seniors and professors did not want this person to participate in the competition. Chapter 1396. With this speed of answering questions, was he still a human? Moreover, they realized that as long as Bei Yunj held her hand and smiled at them, it meant that Bei Yunj would not give them a single point. As a result, they were terrified when they saw Bei Yunj smiling. Not only were the K University teachers and students doubting their lives, but even the Yun University professors were puzzled. Were they the ones who taught this person? The professor hesitated. Principal, if this goes on, I'm afraid K University won't be able to get a single point, right? Unexpectedly, the principal came back to his senses and suddenly sighed. The money I lost to the old master at the gambling table back then was not a loss. The professors were speechless. They did not expect the principal to win this year's top scorer at the gambling table. After K University lost the first round with 0 points, the arrogance of the K University students was instantly dispelled. Xiang Jing, who was below the stage, insisted on watching the competition despite her injuries. She did not expect to see Bei Yunj on stage today. However, what surprised Xiang Jing even more was that Bei Yunj on stage was more cold and high-spirited. It was simply enough to make one's heart go crazy. Xiang Jing's little face was filled with admiration. It was as if she had only truly gotten to know Bei Yunj today. Brother Huang Qian, is Sister Pei going to win? Huang Qian's eyes were filled with admiration. She's definitely going to win. In yesterday's competition, K University still had room to retaliate against Jian Shi. But this time they were being taught a lesson by Bei Yunj. Xiang Jing's eyes lit up when she heard this. Sister is so amazing. I want to learn from her in the future. Unknowingly, Xiang Jing treated Bei Yunj as a learning target. Huang Qian was speechless. The only person who could make this little devil submit willingly was the big devil. At this moment, Principal Xiang, who usually cared about the reputation of his school, also pretended to be blind and did not go up to stop Bei Yunj from teaching them a lesson. Yun University also knew about K University's cheating yesterday, but they did not want to give the other party a chance. However, during this period of time, K University had also vividly displayed the pride and arrogance of their teachers and students. Even though the professors on the judging panel didn't say anything, they all felt that Bei Yunj's provocation today was particularly pleasing to the eye. Anyway, he wasn't going to mess with them. However, the K University student's face turned green. Professor, is that woman really a student? Didn't Yun University specially find someone to represent the competition? Simone's expression did not look too good. I've already gotten someone to check. He's indeed a student of Yun University. The people from Yun University did it on purpose. Why didn't you allow this person to compete before, but now you agree? The contestant sneered. Are you trying to make fun of us? That's enough. Haven't you embarrassed yourselves enough? Simonov reprimanded impatiently. Seeing this, the contestant's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He could only look at Wang Huiying. Teacher, can you lend us a few more people? No matter what. If they lost this time, how would they have the face to return to Continent K? Wang Huiying's expression turned even uglier. A year ago, she had never fully grasped Bei Yunzhi's strength, let alone the 191 members of the Confederation that she had brought along for training. Lend them? Even if she got the 191 core members of the Confederation, they might not be able to win Bei Yunzhi. Suddenly, someone rushed over. The school just sent a document over. Professor Wang, you guys need to confirm it. Simone asked first, what document? K University's official account praised Yun University's student for hurting people. The principal wants an immediate apology, including the person who made the mistake this time, to be dismissed. End of chapter. Chapter 1397. Everyone was panicking. It was only then that they realized who they really could not afford to offend. Only Wang Huiying bit her lip. She clenched her fists, the hatred in her eyes difficult to suppress. What? Forget about the Confederation 191, why was even the newly appointed principal of K University, who had never seen Bei Yunzhi, siding with her? The students of Yun University enjoyed watching the match and felt proud and elated. However, K University was still beaten up badly, but none of them dared to scold the other party. They were like deflated balloons. In fact, after it ended, Simonov had already posted an apology statement and attracted the attention of the entire internet. This student Pei, who could make K University apologize, probably had a powerful background. However, Simonov did not bring the students who had posted back then to Bei Yunzhi to apologize. Bei Yunzhi had already left the backstage to answer a call. It was Qin Luyan. Something had happened to old Master Qin. For some reason, the old man, who had already recovered, was still unconscious. Even the hospital couldn't do anything about it. I'm sorry, Gur. I was afraid that you would be worried, so I didn't tell you earlier. Qin Luyan's voice made Bei Yunzhi's tightly furrowed brows relax. Which hospital? After Qin Luyan gave her an address, Bei Yunzhi hung up and immediately rushed to the hospital, not caring about anything else. However, when she saw old Master Qin's condition, her gaze gradually turned cold. Gur, don't worry. Brother will definitely find the best doctor to treat old Master. Qin Yu, who had not slept for a few days, comforted Bei Yunzhi in a hoarse voice. Bei Yunzhi nodded and left. This time, even the Qin couple had returned when old Master Qin was critically ill. Mrs. Qin laughed coldly. Old Master dotes on her so much, but she didn't shed a single tear. She turned around and left. I wonder how disappointed old Master will be when he finds out. Mr. Qin said coldly, you'd better take care of yourself. Mrs. Qin could only suppress her anger. This Bei Yunzhi had made the family turn to her. At this moment, Bei Yunzhi called CI7's Yun City Department. Minister Jiang Song, Max, why do you still have time to catch up with me? Bei Yunzhi said, I need you to investigate something for me. Jiang Song, did this person know that as an ACE Corps member she was supposed to solve problems for CI7? She did not want CI7 to solve the problem for her. Something happened to my grandfather. I want to find out what happened. Upon hearing Bei Yunzhi's words, Jiang Song frowned. Old Master Qin? There's still someone in Cloud City who dares to make a move on old man Qin? Maybe there's someone who has eaten the guts of a leopard. Bei Yunzhi's voice was filled with hostility. She said unhurriedly, I'll transfer 1 billion yuan to whoever finds it first. Jiang Song's hands almost trembled. This was the true god of fortune. Jiang Song, okay Dad. Is there anything else? If not, don't turn off your phone for 24 hours. We promise to find it for you within a day. All right. After Bei Yunzhi hung up the phone, she went back to the ward. He saw the nurse changing the 4-bag. Wait. Bei Yunzhi called out to the nurse, attracting the attention of the others. Can I take a look? Sure. The nurse handed the 4-bag to Bei Yunzhi. Bei Yunzhi's gaze suddenly fell on a tiny pinhole in the transparent bag. Someone has touched this 4-bag. Did they add any medicine? The nurse hurriedly shook her head. No one has touched it. Qin Lang also frowned. Girl, what's wrong? Bei Yunzhi handed the bag to the nurse, but her eyes were cold. It's nothing. She really had the guts of a bear and a leopard. Chapter 1398. On the top floor of the hotel opposite the river, Tang Boyong was still drinking and admiring the bustling night outside. He couldn't help but laugh at the thought of someone reporting the situation to him. Tang Boyong played with the reagent in the small glass bottle in his hand and held the red wine glass in one hand. He recalled what Qi Wuxiu had said to him. As long as you can control the Huo family, the Qin family is nothing. This was something good that Qi Wuxiu had sent him. It could make people fall into a coma unknowingly and create the illusion of a natural death. However, the juniors of the Qin family had indeed done their best for Old Master Qin. The Qin family had discovered it too quickly. Otherwise, Old Master Qin's corpse would be cold now. How is it? Is it done? Qi Wuxiu called him. The Qin family hasn't issued an obituary statement yet. He's probably still alive. Tang Boyang could already imagine that arrogant girl crying on the bed right now. Qi Wuxiu laughed out loud. You're really ruthless. You don't even care about your son. That silly girl from the Qin family is worthy of my son? What a joke. Tang Boyang mocked. With this family background, she's more like my son's mistress. Since Huashidu couldn't stop the losses in time, he had to have a backup plan. He had to let that girl from the Qin family know that she shouldn't have wishful thinking. After Old Master Qin's accident, no one outside knew. Bei Yunj looked the same as usual, but for some reason, he felt that the air around her was much colder. Do you want to go down and eat something? Qin Lang asked softly. Bei Yunj happened to call. She got up and was about to go out, but she did not expect to bump into Qin Luyin talking to a strange man. She only glanced at him indifferently before turning to leave. However, the strange man could not ignore Bei Yunj's existence. That is, don't tell me the Jie family wants to take advantage of my sister? Qin Luyin's dark eyes did not waver, and he could not tell what he meant. You must be joking. However, we are family. Jie Jia smiled and said, my family asked me to come and take a look when something happened to Old Master Qin. You guys are quite well informed. Hearing the mockery in Qin Luyin's words, Jie Jia only smiled and said, Sio Qin, I just hope that you can consider my suggestion. Qin Luyin knew very well why this person was here. Back then, for the sake of old Madame Qin, Old Master Qin severed his father-son relationship with the head of the powerful Jie family in Continent K. He even came to Yunqing alone to find a wife and change his surname. However, he did not expect that after so many years Old Man Qin was still able to start from scratch, but the Xie family was already at the end of its days. Therefore they were still thinking about the Jie family branch, in Yunqing. They could choose a new successor and let the Jie family gain a foothold in Continent K. Unfortunately, Qin Luyin knew how cold-blooded the Jie family was. In his previous life, the Qin clan was tragically exterminated, but the Xie clan never appeared from the beginning to the end. Now he was trying to get him to go back because he saw that the Qin family was developing day by day and knew that Qin Luyin was extraordinary. They didn't care if the Qin clan members were dead or alive. Really? When the old man wakes up, I'll ask for his opinion. After that, Qin Luyin turned around and left, leaving Jie Jia with an ugly expression. He suddenly noticed Bei Yunj, who was on the phone at the end of the corridor. Max, we've already investigated this matter. But it won't be a good thing for you if we find out. Chapter 1399. Bei Yunj waited for him to continue. Jiang Song said, It's Tang Boyang's men. Bei Yunj's eyes darkened as she asked, Are you sure it's him? Very sure. Although Tang Boyang didn't meet that person, there are 3 phone records. Jiang Song frowned. Max, I suggest you investigate him again. Time was tight, so I didn't investigate further. However, the person who contacted Tang Boyang is from Continent K. I got it. Thank you. Bei Yunj replied, The money will be transferred to the account later. With that said, Bei Yunj saw Jie Jia walking towards her from the corner of her eye. She hung up the phone and prepared to leave. However, Jie Jia called out to her. You're Bei Yunj? I'm not in charge of the company. It's useless to look for me. Bei Yunj glanced at him and left without saying anything. This attitude stunned Jie Jia. Why did he feel that this Bei Yunj was even harder to deal with than Qin Luyin? She was clearly young, but her gaze and natural aura already made people not dare to act rashly. The people from the Qin family are all outstanding. After Jie Jia came back to his senses, he became more interested in Bei Yunj. In the basement of Muse Bar. The room was dark and the atmosphere was oppressive. The most eye-catching thing was a huge spinning roulette and a young man who was tied up inside. Master Du, Miss Pei has also heard the news. Zhou Yu hurried over and glanced at the pale young man before continuing. The man replied indifferently. He raised his peach blossom eyes and looked at the roulette. He asked indifferently, Why? Are you not going to tell me? The young man was trembling all over. He had never expected to be kidnapped here. He had never thought that he would be interrogated under torture one day. After all, he was also a member of an extremist organization in Continent K. He had done many things like kidnapping and extorting confessions from others, but he had never suffered this. Let me go. Please. The young man's voice was trembling. It was obvious that he was very afraid of the man in front of him who was dressed in a neat suit and looked even more noble. The fear and pressure this man brought to him was even greater than that madman Chi Wuxiu. I'll give you some time to think about how to answer me. Huashidu knocked on the table with his knuckles, and Zhou Yu had already gotten someone to stop the wheel. At this time, however, Huashidu stood up and walked to the cabinet at the side. He slowly took a few darts. He said casually, "Let's play a game first to relax." The young man was even more alarmed when he saw this. No. However, very quickly, Huashidu had already walked to the opposite side of him. Before the young man could regain his senses, the first dart had already been thrown. A blood-curdling scream rang out in the dark room. The dart only brushed past the side of his head and landed firmly on the board behind him. The young man's ears were burning as the sharp edges of the dart brushed past his ears, causing him to bleed. First question, why did Chi Wuxiu want to harm Elder Qin? With that, the second dart with a cold luster was thrown out while the young man was tense. With another shrill scream, the tip of the knife stabbed into the board beside his carotid artery. The young man felt the burning sensation of his skin being destroyed. He also felt the madness of the god of death brushing past him. Don't continue. I beg you, don't continue. The young man's eyes were bloodshot as he muttered. He was so cold that he trembled. He had already been forced to the point where his nerves were failing and he was extremely weak. Chapter 1400. Before today he had even told Zhou Yu that he was not afraid of death. However, when death was not under his control, living became even more torturous. He would rather Huashidu give him a quick death. Is the second question because of Lin Lanjun? The young man's scalp turned numb. He did not expect Huashidu to guess so quickly. Just as the young man was in a daze, Huashidu threw the dart on the table and picked up a clean white towel to wipe his hands. It seems like it's really because of Director Lin. The young man looked up abruptly and suddenly realized that Huashidu did not expect him to answer at all. He was just trying to make him suffer a mental breakdown before throwing out the answer he had guessed and seeing his reaction. He was completely creeped out by this man. This was the scariest person he had ever seen. After getting the answer he wanted, Huashidu did not care about the young man's life. After Zhou Yu gestured for someone to put the young man down, he extended the rod and swung it at his back ruthlessly. The young man curled up and trembled in pain. "Take him away," Zhou Yu said expressionlessly. "Yes." The two bodyguards in black left with him. "Master Du, I will find someone to protect Director Lin, but Miss Pei," Zhou Yu probed. After all, Tang Boyong was still Huashidu's father. However, according to Bei Yunji's temper, Tang Boyong would probably not have a good ending if he knew. "Let's go to the hospital." Huashidu walked out and there was no emotion in his calm tone. "Tell the old master to keep his mouth shut." "Yes." Zhou Yu immediately answered. However, what Zhou Yu did not expect was that Huashidu did not mention anything about Tang Boyong when he went to the hospital. Instead, he went to take Miss Pei for a meal, in the hospital. When Qin Yu saw Huashidu appear in front of him in a finely tailored black suit with an impeccable appearance, his expression darkened. However, considering that Elder Qin was still unconscious on the bed, Qin Yu was not in the mood to talk about anything else. "Brother." When Bei Yunji saw Huashidu, she called out. However, she did not expect to attract the attention of the other three. Bei Yunji was speechless. Huashidu walked to her side and reached out to stroke her hair back. He asked softly, "Have you eaten dinner?" Bei Yunji looked at him. "Come back with me later." Huashidu casually pinched the back of her neck. Bei Yunji subconsciously shrank back and nodded. "Why is President Hua here?" The person who spoke was Qin Luyan. His calm eyes met Huashidu's. "I heard that Elder Qin was hospitalized, so I wanted to see if there was anything I could help with." "You're too kind, President Hua. Big brother, this is what he should do." Bei Yunji suddenly spoke and even held Huashidu's sleeve. Everyone present could feel that she was trying to protect him. The expressions of the three brothers changed a little, especially the regretful Qin Yu. He was the one who had King sent his little sister into a wolf's den. This scene made Zhou Yu feel that Bei Yunji was a ruthless person. Qin Luyan was the heir of the Qin family after all. He was not in a hurry to make things difficult for Bei Yunji. Instead he spoke slowly. "Although the old master's condition is not too good, it has stabilized. Currently he has contacted many famous doctors." Huashidu's tone was still refined and calm. "The Qin family's matter is also my matter. As for the hospital, I'll get someone to get Elder Qin's test results and help contact other medical institutes. With that said, the entire place fell silent. Qin Luyin sized up the person in front of him calmly. Chapter 1401. Qin Luyin was not Qin Yu and Qin Lang. He had always been observant. From the first time he saw Huashidu, he knew that this man's motive was not simple. Hearing this, Qin Yu gave a fake smile. He could not help but reach out and pat Huashidu's shoulder. "Brother, I really have to thank you for being so concerned about my family matters and even helping me take care of my sister." Huashidu was quite gentle. "You're welcome. It's what I should do." Only Qin Lang felt that these people were strange as he watched them speak in riddles. "What's wrong, second brother? Why are you speaking so strangely today?" Qin Lang was puzzled. Wasn't President Hua Qin Yu's brother? Why was he like a plastic brother who had fallen out with him today? Qin Yu's smile became even uglier. "Really?" Qin Lang was speechless. For some reason, seeing Qin Yu and Qin Luyin like this, he had a bad feeling. What if they were doing something behind his back? In the restaurant, Bei Yunj glanced at the message from Lu Zhongzhou and then at Huashidu. She lowered her eyes and was a little engrossed, not paying attention to her surroundings. Suddenly, a low and calm voice sounded from the side. "You're not focused even when eating?" Bei Yunj regained her senses and glanced at the man beside her, her eyes darkening. "I won't let go of the person who harmed old master." She did not want to. However, she heard the man laugh softly. That's good." Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. Before she could speak again, the man suddenly reached out and rolled up her sleeves. She heard the man say carelessly, "Yunin, no one can make you lower your head. Do you understand? You don't have to worry about anyone." Bei Yunj's heart seemed to have been touched by something. She could not help but glance at Huashidu. For some reason she felt that this man might know everything. However, he still stood beside her. He remained firm. "Huashidu, do you owe me something?" Bei Yunj quickly looked away and asked heartlessly as she lowered her head to scoop the soup. "Ichem?" The man looked at the girl beside him. From the first time he saw her, the young lady was still too slender. Now she was so beautiful that he could not take his eyes off her. "Otherwise, why would my brother treat me so well?" Huashidu glanced at the obviously absent-minded girl beside him. A moment later. "I just want Yunyun to owe me something first." The man was still calm and composed as he deliberately teased her. "So that our Yunyun might want to go back on her word in the future and have no choice but to agree." Bei Yunj was stunned. The atmosphere was silent for a while. The man suddenly heard Bei Yunj speak. "I won't go back on my word." Huashidu stopped what he was doing and looked at the girl with his peach blossom eyes. Bei Yunj's calm gaze was indescribably serious. "I'll give you whatever you want. On the way." Bei Yunj was enjoying the night breeze, and her expression was a little strange. Someone was sticking to her. She felt a warm, itchy breath on her neck, and a numb electric current seemed to jump straight to her scalp. Her limbs and bones were filled with his ambiguous aura. Bei Yunj was expressionless, but her ears were red. "Huashidu." She took a deep breath and pushed away the man who was deliberately sticking to her. Could this D*Mn man not even tell the difference between wine and water? He even drank the sake that the waiter had sent over. "If you don't stand properly, I'll go back." Bei Yunj threatened the tall man in front of her. She also regretted letting him drink. She saw the man staring at her with his peach blossom eyes, ready to make a move. It was as if he was going to lean on her in the next moment. Chapter 1402. Bei Yunj pretended to turn around and leave. However, the man pulled on her sleeve. His originally low and pleasant voice was a little hoarse at the end of the sentence. "Yun Yun." The man's deep voice was pleasant to begin with. At this moment, there was a hint of coquettishness in it, which made it even more unbearable. Bei Yunj could not stand the contrast between this man who used to have a frivolous temperament. She resisted the urge to touch his head. But not long after. Bei Yunj scanned her surroundings as if nothing had happened and suddenly looked at the man. The corners of her lips curled up. She suddenly tiptoed and reached out to pinch his face boldly, threatening him lazily. "If you don't listen, I'll hit you. Do you hear me?" However, after she finished speaking, Bei Yunj's hand was held by the man. He even kissed her. Bei Yunj, why was this D*Mn man getting more and more clingy after he got drunk? Bei Yunj was about to break free from the man's hand, but he held it tightly instead. Usually, Bei Yunj only knew that this slender and well-defined hand was good-looking, but at this moment she could feel the scorching heat spreading from him. Without waiting for Bei Yunj to react, the man lowered his eyes. His emotions were unclear, but he casually opened the gaps between her fingers. Their fingers intertwined. She even heard him ask word by word, "Didn't you say that you would give brother whatever he wanted?" It was clearly a very simple handholding, but when it came to this man, she suddenly felt a sense of restraint that made her blush and her heart race. Even the temperature and touch of their fingers slowly rubbing against each other made her feel bitter to the bones. "You don't remember anything after you drank too much, but you only remember this? Alright, don't speak first." A man who had drunk too much was a little unpredictable. This was Bei Yunj's most intuitive feeling. For example, the person who had been talking non-stop in her ear just now did not say a word after getting into the car. He even leaned against the sofa and only stared straight at her. As Huashidu refused to let go, Bei Yunj could only bite the bullet and sit beside him. She put on a look that said, "I'm very fierce, you'd better behave yourself." After the man saw it, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He laughed so hard that his shoulders shook. Instead, Bei Yunj couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. "Miss Pei, are you going back with Master Du today?" Zhou Yu asked from the front. Bei Yunj pursed her lips, raised her hand and asked slowly, "Can I leave just because I want to?" Zhou Yu did not even dare to look at Master Du. In his impression, Huashidu rarely drank. Even if he drank too much, he would only remain silent and ignore others. However, he didn't expect Miss Pei to be like a completely different person. To put it bluntly, once Huashidu drank too much, other than Bei Yunj there was no one else in his eyes. Back at the apartment. Bei Yunj turned on the light and pushed the man into the shower. He was using a video conference to discuss old Master Qin's illness with Stephen from Country R's Medical Institute. Yes, old Master Qin's life is temporarily out of danger, but the person who injected old Master Qin with the medicine is determined to make old Master Qin either die or become crippled. Stephen frowned. Old Master Qin has just recovered from a serious illness. If we treat the symptoms and not the root cause, something will definitely happen in the next 3 years. Bei Yunj's eyes turned cold. Her voice was filled with hostility. Is there any way to solve it? The Jie family in Continent K has developed this kind of medicine that old Master Qin needs, but it's not that easy to get it. Stephen frowned. As long as there's a chance. Even if it's a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, I'll take it. Bei Yunj smiled faintly, but her eyes were bone-chilling. However, since he dares to have designs on my old master, he will definitely lose this layer of skin. Chapter 1403. The next day. When Bei Yunj arrived at the hospital, old Master Qin's condition was worse than expected. On the hospital bed. Old Master Qin's face was pale and his eyes were tightly shut. The flesh on his face that he had painstakingly regained over the past year had sunk in. The atmosphere in the ward was heavy. Only Mrs. Qin couldn't help but pull Mr. Qin. "Ting, did Dad already make a will?" Mr. Qin broke free from her and said in a hoarse voice, "What are you arguing about? Dad is still lying here and you're already talking about this?" Mrs. Qin bit her lip. "But there are some things that have to be settled. If old Master Qin was really going to pass away, he couldn't leave everything to Bei Yunj." Mrs. Qin couldn't help but sneer in her heart. After old Master Qin's accident, Bei Yunj was the only cold-blooded person in the family. She was expressionless from the beginning to the end. However, at this time Mr. Qin didn't want to talk to Mrs. Qin at all. "Bei Yunj, what do you think? You should have thought about this by now, right?" Mrs. Qin asked Bei Yunj, who had been typing on the keyboard. Bei Yunj's fingers slowly stopped typing on the keyboard. "What do I think?" She didn't have any emotions in her eyes. Don't talk to your mother." Before Mr. Qin could finish, Mrs. Qin narrowed her eyes and said, "Old Master Qin dotes on you, but he might not leave everything to you. I don't want to be the bad person, but if Jiao Jiao has a share in it, I won't let anyone else take it." Bei Yunj was still typing on the keyboard. Mrs. Qin continued, "If you really dare to take Jiao Jiao's inheritance, aren't you afraid that old Master Qin won't?" Before she could finish speaking, a crisp and loud slap sounded in the ward. Mrs. Qin looked at the person in front of her in disbelief. She didn't expect this person, who was considered her daughter, to hit her. But before she could continue, Bei Yunj's gaze scared her so much that she didn't dare to speak. "Bei Yunj, how dare you?" Bei Yunj grabbed her chin and looked at her coldly, as if she was looking at a stranger. "Mrs. Qin, my patience is limited. Don't you know that I'm a monster who crawled out of hell after dying in a mental hospital?" When Mother Qin met Bei Yunj's gaze, she felt a shiver run down her spine as fear spread through her body. No one had ever seen Bei Yunj like this. What made Mother Qin even more terrified was that Bei Yunj seemed to know something. Actually, when Qin Youjiao was pushed down the stairs by Bei Yunj and got injured, the Qin brothers agreed to send Bei Yunj to the hospital for treatment because Bei Yunj did not look well at that time. Although her brothers were not close to Bei Yunj, they still arranged for Bei Yunj to be treated in the best hospital. It was Mrs. Qin who couldn't persuade Qin Youjiao and believed Qin Youjiao's words and transferred Bei Yunj to the hospital where Qin Youjiao's biological father was. However, Mrs. Qin only guessed that Qin Youjiao didn't want Bei Yunj to have an easy time and wanted to take revenge. She didn't guess that even Bei Yunj's mental illness was Qin Youjiao's doing. Yunju. Seeing this, Mr. Qin was speechless. There won't be a next time. Bei Yunj released her hand and shook Mrs. Qin off. She continued to type on the keyboard for a while until Mr. Qin left with Mrs. Qin. Bei Yunj came to old Master Qin's bed again. Pursing her lips, Bei Yunj tidied old Master Qin's blanket. Not too long later she said softly, "I'm sorry, Grandpa." She sat by the side and crossed her fingers, clenching and relaxing her fists. She repeated this action several times. Those who were familiar with Bei Yunj would know very well that she would only be like this when Bei Yunj was anxious. "I still didn't take good care of you for her." There was no fluctuation in her tone, but there was a hint of weak hoarseness. "When you recover, if I do anything wrong, you can blame me or chase me away. When the time comes, I'll listen to your lecture." "Max, are you crazy? Are you going to snatch it openly?" Shen Yuan knew that Bei Yunj couldn't be considered a normal person at all. She was crazy and paranoid about things that she shouldn't be obsessed with. Bei Yunj asked calmly, "What else can I do? Will they give it to me if I'm polite?" Shen Yuan was speechless. F***CK, why did he have to deal with such a lunatic? "I've checked. The Xie family is the old master's family. They didn't have a good relationship in the past. I can't take the risk with the old master." Bei Yunj slowly cut the flowers in the bushes with a pair of scissors. It was also because Shen Yuan could hear that Bei Yunj's tone was too calm that he realized how much Bei Yunj cared about her family. At this moment, even if the Xie family asked Bei Yunj to kneel down and change the dressing, this proud person would probably kneel willingly. "Yunj, I know it's very presumptuous to say this, but I know more or less about the Qin family. No matter how good the Qin family is to you, it's only been for the past 3 to 4 years." Shen Yuan even felt that the Qin family had abandoned Bei Yunj once. What right did she have to make Bei Yunj do so much? "Who knew? I'm happy to." With that said, Bei Yunj hung up the call. Shen Yuan was speechless. Fine, this was an ancestor. Bei Yunj wiped the scissors playfully, looking nonchalant. No matter what she did, could the Qin family's outcome still not be changed? Suddenly, Bei Yunj's fingertip was cut and red blood flowed out. Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved and she only chuckled softly. She licked the blood on her fingertip. "I can't." If she couldn't change anything, what right did she have to occupy someone else's body? This time, she had the final say in who went to hell. At this moment, the young nurse's eyes widened when she saw that her flower had been cut off. She looked at the culprit in disbelief. "WW, what are you doing?" Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow, not feeling guilty at all after being caught. "Didn't you say that I'll help you cut it according to my mood?" The young nurse was about to suffocate. "You call this helping?" Initially, she had heard from the director that he was afraid that Bei Yunj would fall ill if she suppressed her emotions, so he specially brought her here to do something relaxing, to divert her attention. In the end, everything was fine. If the director knew that his favorite flower had been cut off, he would probably be the one who fell ill. Qin Luyin, who happened to see Bei Yunj from afar, was speechless. The space between his brows loosened, revealing a faint helpless smile. Qin Luyin walked forward and said in a gentle and pleasant voice, "I'm sorry. I'll get someone to deal with the flowers here. I'll get someone to transplant some over later." The young nurse could not help blushing when she saw Qin Luyin. She nodded and ran away. Qin Luyin was helpless. "Why are you cutting the flowers?" Bei Yunj said, "I'm asking you guys. Are you so worried that you sent 4 to 5 people to keep an eye on me?" A dark look flashed past Qin Luyin's eyes and he did not speak. After a long while, he said, "I'm sorry, Gu. I didn't want to make you unhappy." Chapter 1404. Bei Yunj looked up and saw an apologetic expression on his handsome face. To her, her 3 brothers had always been very careful. "I'm not unhappy. You can ask me if you're worried." Bei Yunj put the scissors back into the nurse's basket. "I was just teasing her. I agreed with the director this morning to transplant some new varieties of orchids to him." Brother, I'll go upstairs first. Bei Yunja's eyes curved as she turned to leave. Qin Luyan also felt that Ger's attitude towards him seemed to have softened. He subconsciously tried his best to keep a smile on his lips as he stared at Bei Yunja's back view. Jia Jia also saw this scene. So, was Qin Luyan's weakness Bei Yunj? Jia Jia seemed to have suddenly thought of a good idea and smiled. In the afternoon, after Qin Luyan left, Bei Yunj met Jia Jia the moment she stepped out. Miss Pei? Bei Yunj looked up and met the man's eyes. The other party obviously had a motive. Was he from the Jia family? Bei Yunj thought of the information she had found in the morning and looked at him with interest. There was someone who came knocking on her door. Jia Jia felt that something was wrong under Bei Yunj's half-smile, but he couldn't put his finger on it. He just got to the point again. Can I have a chat with Miss Pei? President Qin might not have mentioned it to you, but we should be considered family a few decades ago. My surname is Jia. Then are you planning to give me a greeting gift? Bei Yunj asked coldly, so direct that it made one suspect that she wanted to rob him the next moment. Jia Jia was also caught off guard. He was very passive. He didn't even know how to reply. What do you want as a greeting gift, Miss Pei? Jia Jia forced a smile. In his opinion, the things that the young lady liked would not be too expensive. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. My brother might not have told you that I'm preparing to transfer to another faculty in my second year. She felt that she had changed to a more acceptable way of putting it, so she said politely, I just want to study medicine or something. I don't know if anyone can send me to a medical institute or something like that. Jia Jia? Her tone was so relaxed that Jia Jia almost thought that Bei Yunj had only asked him to give her a watch or a bag. Medical institute? Jia Jia put on a fake smile. He wanted to know how the Qin family raised this little girl. Was she spoiled to the point of being out of control? Asking for a medical institute? Co Jia. Bei Yunj suddenly spoke, causing Jia Jia to have a bad feeling. Sure enough, she asked, are you a relative who's trying to get close to our family? Jia Jia, this brat. He took a deep breath and had no choice but to endure it. This lawless girl was easier to deal with than someone as shrewd as Qin Luyan. Jia Jia had made up his mind to find the person the Qin family could best control and bring back to the Jia family so that Qin Luyan had no choice but to agree to his conditions. Yunj, you're still young. You might not be able to continue on the path of scientific research, Jia Jia said. Bei Yunj asked slowly, Co Jia, you can't bear to give it to me? Jia Jia's smile turned even uglier. No one could bear to give it to her. The Jia family's medical institute was the foundation of the Xia family in Continent K. Yunj, if you want to go to our Jia family's medical institute to play, it's fine too. You might get tired of it in less than 2 months. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow. Then how many tubes of medicine do I want? Jia Jia heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, of course. Chapter 1405. A few vials of medicine were nothing to him. However, Yunj, you have to go to Continent K to play for a while, okay? A glint flashed past Jia Jia's eyes. Bei Yunj smiled. Sure. Jia Jia felt that this matter was developing too smoothly, so much so that he had an inexplicable bad feeling. He could not help but look at Bei Yunj a few more times. He tried to suppress his worry. How big of a hole could a little girl poke in him? However, after Jia Jia left, Bei Yunj quickly answered a call. Yunj, all 4 of Qi Wuxiu's strongholds in the country have been surrounded and annihilated today. Your information is too amazing. Lu Zhongzhou's tone was filled with indescribable admiration. Qi Wuxiu had always been famous internationally. Almost all the people in charge around the world could not do anything to him. Even Lu Zhongzhou and the others had been besieging Qi Wuxiu's base in the country, but it was difficult for them to find any trace of him. In the past 7 years, they had only surrounded and annihilated 2 strongholds. In the end, last night, Bei Yunj called and gave them Qi Wuxiu's 4 strongholds. Lu Zhongzhou was afraid that they would run away if they were late, so he got people to split up overnight to catch them. He never thought that he would really catch a big fish this time. Yunj, did you find anything else? Lu Zhongzhou felt that when he received the mission to protect Bei Yunj back then, it was even better than winning the lottery. This time, after surrounding and annihilating Qi Wuxiu's 4 strongholds, he would definitely get a first-class merit in the district. No, these are all his strongholds in the country. The corners of Bei Yunj's lips curled up. Last night, Bei Yunj received the news from CI7 and dug up Qi Wuxiu's background. After calling Lu Zhongzhou, she even sent a copy of the information to the person in charge of our nation. Lu Zhongzhou, who did not know anything, was stunned. So, we annihilated all of Qi Wuxiu's strongholds yesterday? Hearing this, Lu Zhongzhou suddenly remembered something. Wait a minute, Yunj, why are you suddenly so interested in Qi Wuxiu? He had a feeling that Bei Yunj was doing this on purpose. Otherwise, why would Bei Yunj send him a message in the middle of the night? It was as if he was trying to provoke Qi Wuxiu. Thinking of this, Lu Zhongzhou could not help but feel his scalp go numb. This ancestor really held a grudge. Whoever he was unhappy with, he would drag him to raid their lair. Lu Zhongzhou suddenly felt like he was a tool for Bei Yunj. Nothing. I just want to give him something to do, Bei Yunj said slowly. Lu Zhongzhou. He was truly a living immortal. All the international parties were racking their brains to get rid of Qi Wuxiu's base, but they couldn't do anything about it. Only his father could suddenly rise in the middle of the night and wipe out all of Qi Wuxiu's bases in Country A. Continent K. There's no news from the base in Country A? Qi Wuxiu gritted his teeth and asked in a gloomy voice. The person in front of him was almost trembling in fear. They're all cut off. Only there's news from our nation that our people have all been exposed. I don't know who sent a list of names to the person in charge of our nation's international affairs. They're all people from our base. All of them? Qi Wuxiu couldn't suppress his anger as he laughed coldly. I really didn't expect that we would be exposed under someone's nose. He never thought that someone would dare to go against him like this. Qi Wuxiu gritted his teeth. You bunch of trash don't even know who's behind this? P.S. Today is 4:00 p.m. Good night. Chapter 1406. That person said that other than the information provided by her, there was no other trace of the person who copied the information. He braced himself and said. The other party's actions were obviously a slap to Qi Wuxiu's face and a show of strength. But who would have thought that there was someone who could threaten an extremist organization, someone who was even more extreme than them? What kind of crazy behavior was this? An underground organization called Death Scythe had its base raided by someone who came out of nowhere. If it weren't for the fact that they had people in Country R's political circle, they might have been completely wiped out by this person this time. Very good. After so many years, there's finally someone who isn't afraid of death and dares to go against me. Qi Wuxiu gritted his teeth and sneered, his chest filled with anger. But for some reason he suddenly had a ridiculous guess. For the past 6 months, Qi Wuxiu had been trying to get the infection data of the Northerners. However, after Tang Boyang made a move on the Qin family's old patriarch, something like this happened to him. Was it really a coincidence? Qi Wuxiu suddenly thought of Bei Yunj, who had caught his spy. But what ability did a silly little girl have to touch a deep-rooted underground organization like him? Send someone to investigate Bei Yunj and find out her background. Qi Wuxiu held the prayer beads in his hand. He still looked handsome, but his eyes were cold. Bei Yunj? The subordinate felt that Qi Wuxiu's suspicion was too ridiculous. How could a first-year student be involved in this matter? If she was really the daughter of the Qin family, she must be very capable, right? But under Qi Wuxiu's cold gaze, the subordinate still obeyed the order to investigate. On the other side, Old K from the K-assist called Bei Yunj. Max, an organization in Continent K is asking us to buy information about you. What's the situation? This organization in Continent K is famous for not being easy to deal with. Qi Wuxiu. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Old K couldn't help but raise his voice. You know? Did you provoke him? Bei Yunj's tone was quite gentle. 2 days ago I got someone to destroy a few of his strongholds. Old K, ? He felt that there should at least be a limit to how immoral one could be. What kind of King ruthless person was this? The largest extremist organization in Continent K was wiped out by her just like that? So, you're the one behind Country A's encirclement of 4 root strongholds? Were you the one who gave me the information in Country R? Old K was about to suffocate. He was really good. Did this person purposely pick the hardest iron board to kick? It's none of your business. Just give him whatever he wants. Let Qi Wuxiu know that I'll be going to Continent K in a few days. Bei Yunj said slowly. Old K doubted his ears. Say that again. He felt that Bei Yunj's behavior was very similar to digging up someone's ancestral grave and throwing paper money in front of someone else's house. What an immoral act. This was the first time he had seen someone dare to provoke the crazy Qi Wuxiu. He didn't know if Qi Wuxiu was traumatized. I'll talk to you when I go to Continent K next time. I still have something to do. Hearing Bei Yunj's words, Old K didn't know what Bei Yunj was going to do. But it was true. After hanging up, Bei Yunj read a text message and went out. There were a few conspicuous district cars parked outside. Miss Bei. Lu Jian nodded at Bei Yunj. The materials have been submitted. There's no problem with taking action at any time. Bei Yunj turned around and got into the car. Let's go. Chapter 1407. Higgins Group. In the hall. No one had expected that the son of the Fernandes family head, Tang Boyong, would brazenly come to Higgins Group to snatch the Qin Corporation's project. Mr. Tang, are you sure you want to do this? The higher-ups next to him frowned and felt inexplicably uneasy. Higgins Group's industrial chain has been very popular for the past 2 years. As long as we can get this cooperation, it will be good for our company. Tang Boyong laughed. He leaned back in his chair and turned to look at his distant junior. Isn't that right? Tang Shu. When Tang Shu came to find Tang Boyong, he was ecstatic. Tang Shu was a student from the first batch of Yun University's junior class. Later on, she had also been a core technician in the Qin Corporation. She was a rare technical talent. However, what made Tang Boyong even happier was that Tang Shu was somewhat related to him. I know all the technical cores of the Qin Corporation. There's not that much of a threat. Tang Shu flipped through the book in her hand. Her calm tone showed that she was determined to win. Tang Boyong smiled when he heard that. Because of old Master Qin, the Qin Corporation was also in turmoil. He did not think that without old Master Qin, the Higgins Group would take a fancy to the Qin Corporation. As for that Bei Yunj, even if he knew Higgins, he would still be a businessman. It was impossible for a businessman not to know who was a more suitable partner. What hard technology can Yun City have? It's all about spending money. I want to see how long they can hold on to the Qin family's business territory. Tang Boyong sneered and patted Tang Shu's shoulder. Higgins Group attaches great importance to the technical cores of their partners. Today's technical competition is also one of the important references for them to choose a partner. Shu, don't disappoint me. Tang Shu hid the strange look in her eyes and only teased unintentionally, of course. However, if I get first place, will Uncle Tang ask Brother Shidu to reward me with something? A glint flashed across Tang Boyong's eyes. Shu, it seems like you know Shidu? I met Brother Shidu by chance in a competition in the past. Tang Shu smiled and did not deny it. However, her fingers unconsciously tightened around the book. He's an important guest in the first row. After this competition, I can arrange for you to meet. Tang Boyong's tone was affectionate, and he was very satisfied with Tang Shu. Back then, he had been trying his best to make his mother's family, the Tang family, into the upper class of Yun City. But he never had the chance. However, if Shidu could marry the children of the Tang family would have something to rely on in the future. Shidu's future marriage partner should be a capable girl like Shu who can help her husband. Not the kind that looks beautiful like a fairy. Tang Boyong's tone was filled with disdain and strong dissatisfaction. She's like Shidu's mother, doing research all day long. Is scientific research something a woman should be involved in? When Tang Shu heard the last sentence, a cold sneer flashed across her eyes. She merely changed the topic and said indifferently, I heard that the eldest daughter of the Qin family was a repeater and was admitted to Yun University later on? Tang Boyong sneered, is that so? I really don't know how she got first place in the college entrance exam. Don't worry, I'll take down Higgins for you. Tang Shu smiled. Soon, preparations for the internal technical competition arranged by Higgins began. The first row of the spectator area was filled with the higher-ups of Higgins Corporation who rarely appeared. This showed how much importance Higgins attached to the technical department. Half an hour passed. Tang Shu was indeed first in the first round of the competition. Tang Boyong smiled brightly and quietly walked to the person in charge of Yun City, Xue Jiangxian, who was in the first row. He said respectfully, Congratulations, Boss Xue. I heard that you are the person in charge appointed by Higgins Corporation's benefactor. Xue Jiangxian shook his head. I don't deserve it. It's just that the eldest daughter likes me. Tang Boyong was surprised. Is the successor of Higgins really a woman? The light in Xue Jiangxian's eyes turned cold as he smiled. The eldest daughter's talent is enough to convince everyone. Tang Boyong's face stiffened. He sensed Xue Jiangxian's unhappiness and hurriedly responded. Yes, you're right. Xue Jiangxian nodded. Tang Shu is not bad, but her thinking is similar to the technicians of the Qin family. Chapter 1408. Tang Boyang's face was full of smiles as he said, intentionally or unintentionally. The Qin Group has indeed seized the initiative in the field of science and technology in recent years. That's why my junior stayed in the Qin Group for 2 years. She was once the technical leader of the Qin Group. These words were clearly telling Xue Jiangxian that the technical core of the Qin Group was brought out by Tang Xu. How could their strength be compared with Tang Xu's? Xue Jiangxian looked at Tang Xu through the screen and nodded with satisfaction. Tang Xu is good. She was even not inferior to the core members of Higgins. Really? Tang Boyang laughed loudly. Then I'm really looking forward to the cooperation between you and Higgins. Who would think? As soon as he finished speaking, a voice not far away attracted everyone's attention. Then I'm sorry to disappoint you this time, Mr. Tang. I'm afraid you won't have this chance. Tang Boyang's expression changed. He turned his head and did not expect to see Lu Jian. This was the famous cold-faced Hades in the investigation team of Yun City. Captain Lu? Tang Boyang inexplicably had a bad feeling. Lu Jian thought that Bei Yunj was still waiting downstairs on the phone and smiled quietly. It seems that Mr. Tang also knows me. Then this matter will be easy. As soon as Lu Jian finished speaking, he walked up to Tang Boyang and handcuffed him before anyone else could react. Tang Boyang suddenly raised his pale face. He could not suppress his panic. Captain Lu, what do you mean? Tang Boyang had done some research on some important people before coming to Yun City. The Lu family behind Lu Jian was not a small family. So Tang Boyang also knew that he should not provoke him. I'm sorry, Mr. Tang. I just got the evidence of the murder of President Qin of the Qin Group. All the signs show that you can't get away with it. So today I'm here to inform you that you have to go back with me. Lu Jian's words made Tang Boyang panic. How was this possible? Didn't the Qin family not even find out whether old Master Qin was poisoned? Where did they get the evidence to link him? What nonsense are you talking about? Lu Jian, Mr. Tang, you know whether I'm talking nonsense or not. But if you have any grievances, you can go back and talk slowly. Let go. Let go. I'm not going back with you. This has nothing to do with me. Tang Boyang suppressed his panic and struggled with all his might. Even the scene was in a mess because of this unimaginable accident. Until a cold voice rang out. Let go. Everyone turned around and saw Tang Xu walking out. She narrowed her eyes and said, Captain, you need convincing evidence to arrest someone. Moreover, Mr. Tang is not from Yunqing. Lu Jian said, so far, according to our investigation, it was 3 people from Continent K who tampered with old Chairman Qin, and the only domestic phone contact of these 3 people is Mr. Tang. Tang Xu sneered, what can this prove? Could it be that Captain Lu heard from the conversation that it was Uncle Tang who did this? Miss, are you trying to obstruct my work? Lu Jian did not back down. Mr. Tang is a key suspect, so it's only right for him to cooperate with the investigation. Really? Then you must give me a good reason. Otherwise I can't let you touch Uncle Tang. Tang Xu was unexpectedly calm in the face of this matter, but Lu Jian's eyes slowly sank. Suddenly he received a call from the higher-ups. Jian, are you investigating President Qin's death? The people from CI7's Yunqing department came to ask. Someone is protecting Tang Boyang. Let him go first. Lu Jian's face darkened even more. What? Don't be reckless. Just listen to the higher-ups. There's no need to confront CI7 at this juncture. After that, the other party hung up. Lu Jian turned around again and saw Tang Xu looking at him with a smile. I told you, Captain, you can't take away the person I want to keep. At this moment, Tang Boyang turned his head abruptly and realized that the distant junior who came to him because he thought she had no one to rely on actually had a background that could not be underestimated. Let's get to know each other again. You're Captain Lu, right? I'm Tang Xu from CI7's Yunqing department. As soon as Tang Xu's voice fell, the surrounding people looked at Tang Xu differently. This girl was actually from the International Intelligence Organization CI7? One had to know that CI7 was the #1 international intelligence organization. Not only did it communicate with tycoons from all over the world, but it was also because of CI7's intelligence that country R was able to avoid a financial crisis more than 10 years ago. Such an intelligence organization could even influence a country. How many people from all over the world were racking their brains to build a relationship with CI7's internal personnel? But who would have thought that this young girl was actually a member of CI7's Yunqing department? Facing everyone's gazes and envy, Tang Xu was used to such a home ground and remained expressionless. Captain Lu, it's time to unlock my uncle. Lu Jian's face was dark as he held the keys in his hand. The team member behind him could not help but say, "Captain Lu, are you going to let him go? Miss Pei is still waiting downstairs." Bei Yunj again? Tang Boyang snapped out of his daze from Tang Shu's true identity and could not help but sneer. I really didn't expect that Shidu would really spoil this woman to the point of lawlessness. Does she think she can be so unreasonable in front of me? Because of Tang Shu's unexpected help this time, Tang Boyang valued Tang Shu even more. His tone was mocking. "Ah Shu, this Miss Pei is your schoolmate? I should let you meet her another day. Miss Pei has quite a temper." Tang Shu only smiled as she suppressed the strange look in her eyes. She did not expect Huashidu to fall in love with someone who was not worthy of him. Suddenly, a clear and lazy voice sounded from the elevator not far away. There was a hint of playfulness in the voice. "What? It seems like someone wants to understand me again?" Hearing this, everyone turned around abruptly. Especially Xue Jiangxian, who had originally sunk after hearing Tang Boyang's words. At this moment, his eyes could not help but light up with excitement. However, when Tang Shu saw Bei Yunj walking towards her, her face froze. It had to be said that this person in front of her did have the ability to make men fascinated by her. "Miss Pei, I've long heard of your name." Tang Shu reached out her hand to Bei Yunj appropriately. "I'm Tang Shu from CI7's Yunqing department." In the eyes of others, Tang Shu did not put on any airs. Instead, it was the eldest daughter of the Qin family. She was indeed worthy of Tang Boyang's words, lawless. Bei Yunj glanced at Tang Shu slowly. Her every move was unbridled. She said, "Captain Lu, it's 5:30 p.m. now. It's not time to get off work yet." Lu Jian, as a well-known researcher, can you read more books and read more newspapers? Even CI7 was interfering in this matter. How was he going to arrest her? Chapter 1409. Miss Pei, with me here, I'm afraid you won't be able to take Uncle Tang away. Tang Shu smiled and broke the silence. Also, if you don't have a good reason, you'll be handcuffed for your offense. Mr. Xue, aren't you going to ask someone to send the guest out? Tang Shu turned around and asked with a faint smile. When Xue Jiangxian heard this, the way he looked at Tang Shu became unpredictable. But, without Xue Jiangxian's order, no one in Higgins dared to move. Until Bei Yunj sneered and walked slowly in front of Tang Shu. "Miss Tang, you don't seem to treat yourself as a guest." "What do you mean?" Tang Shu sneered. She had investigated Bei Yunj in CI7. She was a lucky girl who had been found and brought home by a wealthy family. It was impossible for her to have anything to do with Higgins. "Miss, I heard that something happened to Mr. Qin. I've been worried about you. Are you and Mr. Qin okay?" Xue Jiangxian suddenly spoke without hiding anything in front of everyone. At this moment, the others realized that the new manager of Higgins was overly respectful to Bei Yunj. The old man is receiving treatment. He's fine now. Bei Yunj glanced at the people around her and asked, "Is today a technical competition?" "Yes." Xue Jiangxian nodded. The technical competition was set up by Bei Yunj. Therefore, it was impossible to work with Higgins if one didn't have some skills. "You guys can continue. Don't let the Qin family go through the back door." Bei Yunj played with the rolled-up paper in her hand lazily and said in a casual tone. Xue Jiangxian was speechless. "How many times have you called me to let the Qin family go through the back door?" At this moment, when Tang Boyang and Tang Shu saw that Bei Yunj was so close to Xue Jiangxian that they had the illusion that Xue Jiangxian didn't dare to offend Bei Yunj, they were inexplicably shocked. Who was Bei Yunj? Why was the new manager of Higgins so cautious in front of her? The business world knew very well how difficult it was to deal with the new manager of Higgins. Compared to Nieyu, this person was harder to fathom, and he couldn't see any weaknesses. But today Xue Jiangxian was actually respectful to a young lady in her early 20s. It was as if Bei Yunj was not someone to be offended. It seems that Miss Pei and Mr. Xue are very close. Tang Shu's expression turned ugly, but she still smiled and said, "Why don't we ask Mr. Xue to help us resolve any misunderstandings with Uncle Tang? Mr. Xue, there's something you can help me with." Bei Yunj stepped forward and handed the paper to Xue Jiangxian. Xue Jiangxian opened it and found two pieces of paper inside. One of them was an official document from the Cloud City Theater of Operations. The other was a red arrest warrant from Interpol. Arrested person, Tang Boyang. Date of arrest, December 7, 20XX. Official Seal Department, International Criminal Police Organization. Official Seal Department, Yun City Theater of Operations. Command. Xue Jiangxian was stunned. Even Lu Jian was rendered speechless by these two documents. Interpol Red Arrest Warrant? Where did Bei Yunj find such a big shot to issue such an arrest warrant? Unfortunately, Mr. Tang, Miss Tang, no one can stop me from taking anyone away today. Bei Yunj spoke slowly as if she had suddenly thought of something interesting. She chuckled lightly and said, "You don't say, it's quite offensive." Chapter 14:10. Tang Shu felt cold all over. She looked up and met Bei Yunj's eyes. Her superiority in front of everyone seemed to have dissipated in front of this person. "I'm a little curious. What should I do? Miss Tang, so what if I offend you?" Bei Yunj's frighteningly bright almond-shaped eyes were not smiling at all, as if she could see into the depths of a person's heart. Tang Shu froze. Her face turned pale. She didn't know why, but facing this person for the first time she felt so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. At this moment, the atmosphere of the whole place instantly froze. For some reason, even though no one knew the identity of the eldest daughter of the Qin family, no one dared to provoke her. "Captain Lu, it's time to get your job done." Bei Yunj glanced at Tang Boyong casually and turned to leave. Tang Boyong panicked when he saw this scene. He couldn't help but threaten, "Bei Yunj, how dare you treat me like this? Aren't you afraid that Shidu will fall out with you?" Tang Boyong roared furiously from behind. The others were silently watching Bei Yunj make a fool of herself, but the people in front were indifferent. "Is that so? Then everyone present, don't talk nonsense in front of my brother." Bei Yunj's tone was slow as she said with a smile, "It wasn't easy for me to trick him. I don't want to cause trouble for anyone over such a small matter. Shui Jiangxian, Lu Jian, look, as long as you're righteous, it doesn't matter if you're a human or not." After Lu Jian got someone to handcuff Tang Boyong, Tang Shu quickly struggled out of this ridiculous sense of inferiority. "Bei Yunj." Tang Shu was almost gnashing her teeth as she gloomily watched her leave. But Bei Yunj didn't even turn back. This made Tang Shu feel that standing here foolishly was more humiliating than being slapped in public by this woman. Tang Shu sneered and took out her phone to make a call. Then she followed her to the police station. "Captain Lu, what's wrong with you? Didn't I tell you to retreat? You even brought her back?" When the colleague saw Lu Jian, he immediately pulled Lu Jian aside as if he had seen a ghost and asked in a low voice, "Did he think that he was being promoted too quickly and was trying to get punished?" "The higher-ups gave the order," Lu Jian said. "What order?" "I heard that Tang Boyang's people from CI7. We don't have to be rash and cause trouble." His colleague said bitterly, "Aren't you afraid that the director will hold a meeting with you? See for yourself." Lu Jian stuffed the documents into his colleague's hands. His colleague didn't care at first, but when he saw the two documents he was stunned. International Criminal Police First Investigation Organization's Red Warrant. And from the War Zone Command? Her colleague couldn't help but raise her voice. "Where did you come from?" "You'll have to ask that, father." Lu Jian raised his chin towards Bei Yunj. The colleagues asked that girl? How could she possibly know someone from the War Zone, and even someone from the International Criminal Police Organization? Just as the colleague was in a daze, the bureau chief that the two of them were talking about arrived. What was even more unexpected was that Tang Shu, whom they had just met, was with him. Tang Shu smiled and glanced at them. In the end, her gaze stopped on Bei Yunj. "Bureau Chief Yang, sorry to trouble you with this matter. Why are you being so polite with me?" Bureau Chief Yang asked with a smile. "I know that Bureau Chief Jiang values you. I wonder, how is Bureau Chief Jiang recently?" Tang Shu straightened her back and smiled gently. "Since Bureau Chief Yang is so concerned, why don't you ask Bureau Chief Jiang yourself later?" Bureau Chief Yang's eyes widened. "Bureau Chief Jiang will come today." Chapter 14:11. In the past 2 years, Director Yang had put in a lot of effort hoping to get to know Jiang Song, the director of the CI7 Intelligence Bureau. However, Jiang Song had always been low-key and elusive. In the past few years, no one could find any opportunity to get close to him. Unexpectedly, Jiang Song actually took the initiative to come to the police station today for Tang Shu? Then wouldn't they have a chance to have a good relationship with the CI7? Tang Shu smiled indifferently and alienated. Well, but Director Jiang probably doesn't want too many irrelevant people. After listening, Director Yang glanced around and ordered people to clear the place, except for a few staff members. Suddenly, Tang Shu asked, "Director Yang, did you forget what you promised me?" "How could I forget?" Director Yang turned to Lu Jian and said, Lu Jian, go and release Mr. Tang. How can you arrest people without evidence? But didn't I give you the evidence? Lu Jian asked back. Director Yang frowned. What kind of evidence is that? Mr. Tang is not from Yun City. Do you know how much responsibility I have to bear by doing this? Lu Jian frowned. But before Lu Jian could say anything, a person walked over from the side. I'll bear this responsibility. Director Yang turned his head and didn't expect to see Bai Yunj. The anger in his heart subsided by more than half. Director Yang knew that Bai Yunj's identity was not simple, but he also hated Bai Yunj for not liking him. She only liked Lu Jian, the captain whose position was lower than his. Miss Pei, do you think you can bear this responsibility? Director Yang's tone was polite, but he didn't give in at all. He had a fake smile on his face. You ordered my subordinates to arrest people for no reason. Do you know, Director Yang? Before Lu Jian could finish, Bai Yunj pulled out the swivel chair next to her and sat down in front of them. Her tone was casual and indifferent. Tell me, what is this? Inexplicably, the atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. Even the others didn't expect that someone could be so arrogant in the police station, threatening the director. What kind of ruthless operation was this? Director Yang's face turned red, but he couldn't say anything. After all, Bai Yunj did have some background. Otherwise, Lu Jian would not have tried to curry favor with her. He couldn't afford to provoke them. Bai Yunj, I just hope that you won't be so willful. Director Yang's expression did not look too good. Don't you know who Tang Shu is? Why must you offend someone you shouldn't? What's the rush, Director Yang? The person I reported was Tang Boyong, not you. Bai Yunj looked at him with a faint smile, which made Director Yang even more nervous. What nonsense are you spouting? Bai Yunj, do you know the consequences of framing an employee? Director Yang had just finished speaking. Tang Shu's eyes lit up when she saw the message. After glancing at Bai Yunj, she smirked and said condescendingly, Director Yang, I'll go pick her up first. Director Yang's expression changed. He was a little flattered. Director Jiang is here already? I'll go pick her up. Director Yang, please wait here. Tang Shu smiled and said. However, she didn't expect that the person she was going to pick up would appear in front of everyone. There's no need to pick her up. I'm here. Jiang Song glanced at his watch and his gaze landed on Tang Shu. Where is your relative? Director Yang immediately broke the stiff atmosphere and said with a fake smile, Director Jiang, thank you for coming here personally. However, this might be a misunderstanding. He changed the topic. Why don't you talk to Miss Pei personally, Director Jiang? When Jiang Song heard this, he turned to look at the Miss Pei that Director Yang was talking about. However, the next moment, Jiang Song's entire body seemed to be frozen. Why was she here? Chapter 14:12. Director Yang still didn't know the situation and spoke up bravely. Miss Pei insisted that her father's illness was related to Mr. Tang Boyong. Miss Tang Shu had no choice but to ask you to come over. Tang Shu smiled faintly. Director Jiang is a very nice person. If it wasn't important, I wouldn't have troubled him. These words were also a way to tell others that Director Jiang treated her very well and would help her solve these problems. Director Yang smiled even more brightly. Since that's the case then, unexpectedly, before Director Yang could finish speaking, Jiang Song had already walked in front of Bai Yunj. Miss Pei, it's you? Bai Yunj's eyelids twitched. She only glanced at the young man in front of her and said indifferently, What's the matter? Jiang Song suddenly had a bad feeling. No way? Although they were online friends, she couldn't possibly not recognize him, right? The others were shocked and felt that this young lady of the Qin family was really bold. However, Jiang Song was used to Bai Yunj's coldness. He said excitedly, I'm Jiang Song. Bai Yunj looked at the newspaper and frowned. She stepped back with her heels on the ground and distanced herself from this mentally unstable man in front of her. The scene was very quiet. Jiang Song saw Bai Yunj's cold and disdainful expression that said, You'd better not talk to me. He was instantly hurt. *CK, was this a scumbag? At this moment, the smile on Tang Shu's face completely froze. She had never seen Jiang Song so close to anyone. Could it be that these two people knew each other? As soon as this thought appeared in Tang Shu's mind, she interrupted herself. This was impossible. Director Jiang, Miss Pei probably doesn't like strangers approaching her, Tang Shu said with a fake smile. I'm a stranger? Jiang Song thought that Tang Shu was hilarious. No one knew Max better than he did, okay? You don't know me? Jiang Song was so angry that he forced a smile and nodded. He immediately sent a message to Bai Yunj. Just as he was waiting for Bei Yunji's ringtone to ring, the scene was quiet for a whole minute. Jiang Song's bad premonition intensified, but he refused to believe it. He looked incredulously at Bei Yunji, who had a look of disbelief on her face that said, "I'd like to see what other tricks you can play." Then he called Bei Yunji. In the end, after a long while, Bei Yunji's phone didn't even ring in her pocket. This made Jiang Song have a conjecture that he had to believe. Did this guy F*King blacklist him? Was she for real? Wasn't he just calling her a few more times? How could he be such a beast? Jiang Song felt suffocated. Pei, Lu Jian answered thoughtfully, Bei Yunji. Bei Yunji, did you blacklist me? Jiang Song was so angry that he almost fainted. Bei Yunji's eyelids twitched before she looked at Jiang Song. It was as if she was thinking about which person on her blacklist would this be. Jiang Song, Bei Yunji quickly remembered. Jiang Song? Jiang Song put on a fake smile and then said in a sarcastic tone, "I'm really touched that you can still remember me with your noble brain." Bei Yunji moved her lower lip. She looked at Jiang Song's hurt expression and wanted to explain something. But she paused for half a minute. She turned her head and didn't look at Jiang Song. She changed the topic stiffly. "When can we interrogate him?" Jiang Song, who was about to be coaxed. "P.S. Good night." Chapter 14-13. Good. She didn't even bother to brush him off. When Lu Jian heard this, he glanced at Jiang Song subconsciously and said, "We can interrogate him now. Are you coming with me?" Bei Yunji nodded. When Bei Yunji and Jiang Song turned around and prepared to leave, Tang Shu immediately said, "Chief Jiang, my uncle?" When Jiang Song heard this, he became unhappy and his face immediately darkened. He had almost been tricked by Tang Shu. Her uncle? Why did she look for him when her uncle was in trouble? Was she trying to be a scapegoat for her uncle? "Tang Shu, you have more guts than I do. How dare you try to get someone out of her hands?" Jiang Song laughed angrily. Originally, he thought that Tang Shu had a good foundation and wanted to see if she was suitable to be his successor. But now, Tang Shu's ability to cause trouble was really unsuitable. Tang Shu and Chief Yang's expressions changed when they heard this. They knew very well that the she Jiang Song was referring to was none other than Bei Yunji. Even Jiang Song didn't dare to provoke her. Where did this Bei Yunji come from? Chief Yang regretted it even more at this time. He could only smile and ask, "Are you and Miss Pei friends?" The smile on Jiang Song's face was even more frightening. Who knows? After all, not many people's friends would be on the blacklist. Chief Yang was speechless. Tang Shu secretly clenched her fists when she thought about how that person liked Bei Yunji. She asked stubbornly, "Chief Jiang, my uncle is the former heir of the Fernan's family. Do you really think that I can't afford to offend Bei Yunji?" When Jiang Song heard this, he completely lost his good impression of Tang Shu. "Tang Shu, I've reminded you about this." He caught a glimpse of a foreign document on the table from the corner of his eye. It was an Interpol red warrant. Jiang Song's pupils shrank, and he couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. He knew very well that in the international field, there were no more than 3 people who could issue this red warrant in such a short time. And the most likely person to secretly help Bei Yunji was the founder of CI7, who had disappeared a few years ago. Jiang Song sneered and continued, "Let's not talk about Bei Yunji first. Who do you think issued this red arrest order? With that person's identity, even the people from the headquarters did not have the ability to interfere. The Fernan's family? Do you really think they have the guts?" Tang Shu's face immediately turned pale. She couldn't help but bite her lips. She couldn't stand steadily and was on the verge of collapsing. Her voice was a little sharp and trembling, as if she was still unable to accept reality. A red warrant? How was this possible? Tang Shu stood far away at that time. She only thought that the 2 pieces of paper from Bei Yunji were red documents issued by Yunqing at most. Therefore, Higgins' men did not dare to offend Bei Yunji. However, CI7 was not bound by any country. That was why she boldly found Jiang Song. She wanted to use the status of an international organization to take the opportunity to pressure the Yun City Department. However, he never thought that Bei Yunji's other document would come from Interpol. Jiang Song couldn't be bothered to say more. He only said, "With Bei Yunji's personality, why would she provoke her for no reason? Whatever your uncle has done, you should let him bear the consequences. At most, let him go to jail for a few years. When Bei Yunji's anger subsides, she won't dislike you." Tang Shu suddenly felt that this matter was ridiculous. She had always been looked up to by others. She still had to wait for Bei Yunji's anger to subside and hope that Bei Yunji wouldn't mind her. After Jiang Song left, Director Yang finally saw the red headers of the command center of the theater of operations as well as the arrest warrant from Interpol. He almost passed out. He had never thought that Bei Yunji would actually bring the highest arrest warrant from the war zone headquarters and Interpol. However, Director Yang regretted it even more when he thought of what he had just done. Chapter 14:14. He actually helped Tang Shu mock Bei Yunji? Director Yang's heart sank. If he had known that Bei Yunji had a close relationship with the war zone headquarters, he wouldn't have ruined his future here. It was all Tang Shu's fault. Director Yang couldn't help but grit his teeth and smile insincerely. Miss Tang is really good at dragging people into the water. I didn't expect CI7 to not even care about the Interpol red warrant. With that, Director Yang left, leaving Tang Shu with a gloomy and embarrassed expression. She gritted her teeth and her nails almost dug into the flesh of her palms. She didn't believe it. How could this woman be so capable? In the interrogation room, Tang Boyang was tied to a chair and wanted to strangle Bei Yunji. He never expected that he would be forced to this point by a silly girl. Did you hear that? I'm going to contact my family now. Tang Boyang roared furiously. The next moment, the person who pushed the door open was the person Tang Boyang hated the most. The hatred in Tang Boyang's eyes didn't last long. Suddenly he heard Bei Yunji laugh. She sat opposite him. What? Are you waiting for Qi Wuxiu to save you? Tang Boyang's body stiffened and he panicked for no reason. How did Bei Yunji know about Qi Wuxiu? Don't worry, I'll let you guys reunite here later. Bei Yunji crossed her legs and played with the fountain pen in her hand. There was a coldness in her casual voice. Tang Boyang's scalp went numb and a thought popped up in his mind. What a lunatic. This was the first time Tang Boyang had seen someone who wasn't afraid of Qi Wuxiu. Qi Wuxiu was famous for being ruthless. The number of ruthless people who had been tortured to death by him could be counted on 2 hands. Therefore, the international circle had always avoided this person. Tang Boyang's eyes became more and more sarcastic. Bei Yunji, what do you think you're capable of? How dare you provoke Qi Wuxiu? Aren't you afraid that the Qin family won't even have a descendant? These words also told Bei Yunji that Qi Wuxiu was the one who had killed old Master Qin. He wanted to see how this woman would dig her own grave. Bei Yunji narrowed his eyes and looked a little indifferent, but the atmosphere gradually became oppressive. The coldness in his eyes carried an almost uncontrollable thirst for blood. But the next moment she looked up and smiled playfully. Mr. Tang is right. Isn't there a better way? Tang Boyang still didn't understand what he meant. She propped up her cheek with one hand and asked lazily, if Tang Boyang finds out that you were the main reason why his bases were destroyed twice, he'll be furious. Do you think he'll find a way to get you out and break your bones one by one? When Tang Boyang heard this, he immediately felt a chill down his spine. What nonsense are you talking about? He suddenly realized something and his voice became uncontrollably distorted. How do you know that Qi Wuxiu's base was destroyed? Tang Boyang felt a chill run down his spine as he frantically tried to break free from the prison chair. It's you? You did it, didn't you? He had never thought that the person who could destroy most of Qi Wuxiu's forces would be Bei Yunji. Even now, Qi Wuxiu probably didn't know who had targeted him. Huh? Is that so? Bei Yunji slowly curled the corners of her lips and looked at Tang Boyang, who was about to break down. Then in 2 days, when Qi Wuxiu goes crazy and comes looking for you, you can tell him yourself. Bei Yunji, you lunatic. What are you trying to do? Tang Boyang knew that Bei Yunji wanted Qi Wuxiu to mistake him for a traitor so that Qi Wuxiu could kill him personally. This person was an evil spirit who had crawled out of hell. Chapter 14:15. What's the point of a dog that likes to bite with only half of its teeth broken? Bei Yunji suddenly chuckled, but her tone made Tang Boyang shudder. However, with that, Bei Yunji stood up and prepared to leave. Tang Boyang suddenly came back to his senses. He struggled frantically. Bei Yunji, come back. What are you doing? Come back. Bei Yunji ignored him and her back did not stop at all. Bei Yunji, I won't let you off. Don't think that Shirdu can protect you. Outside the door, Lu Jian couldn't help but ask, what did you say to him? Nothing. Bei Yunji looked at him and said lazily, I'll leave him to you. Lu Jian nodded. Don't worry, I'll get useful information from him. The next day, the head of the physics department had just opened the door when he saw Bei Yunji sitting inside. After a moment of silence, He resisted the urge to close the door and leave. What are you doing here? Logically speaking, teachers like them should like students with good grades. However, Pei Yun's just happened to be a headache. What good could it be for her to come over personally? Bei Yun handed him the leave slip and said gently, "Dean, I want to apply for leave." The dean took a deep breath. "Do you have any special circumstances?" Bei Yun was silent for a moment before saying honestly, "No." The atmosphere fell into a strange silence. The dean's expression also turned ugly. He put on a fake smile. "Bei Yun, I know you're quite capable, but Yun University has no precedent of giving people special privileges. Besides, if you come to apply for leave whenever you have nothing to do, others will follow your example. How can I still be the dean?" Bei Yun nodded after hearing this. Just as the dean's brows relaxed, he heard her ask again, "Then do you think I'm skipping class?" The dean? He couldn't help but cough a few times. He clutched his heart and sat down to drink a glass of water. "How about this? The third-year students will have their holidays half a month earlier than you guys. I'll give you a chance. If you can get a score of 85 or above in the final exam of your third year, I'll allow you to take a leave of absence. This way, I can also give an explanation to the others." "All right." Perhaps because Bei Yun agreed too quickly, the dean choked on his water again. He raised his head abruptly and asked, "Are you serious?" Bei Yun answered casually, "Yes. If you don't get 85 marks this time, you won't get any final results, and I won't give you a leave of absence in the future." The dean placed the teacup on the table and said calmly. Obviously he had a card up his sleeve. Pei Yun licked the corner of her lips as her eyes curled up lazily. "Sure." After Bei Yun left, the other professors couldn't help but turn their heads to look at the dean, as if they were condemning him with their eyes. What kind of joke was this? This year's third-year physics students were using experimental teaching materials. It was very different from what Bei Yun had learned in the physics textbooks in the country. Not to mention Bei Yun, all the third-year students in this year's cohort were having a hard time learning. Therefore, even among the students in this year's cohort, no one was confident that they could get more than 85 marks in all the subjects. Wasn't the dean obviously trying to trick them? "Dean, be nicer to our department's seated players." The female professor from the physics department muttered, "Is there anyone who plays such dirty tricks like you?" The dean was disapproving and proud. "What do you mean by playing dirty tricks? All is fair in war." Chapter 14-16. The dean grabbed a handful of fish food and walked to the transparent fish box to feed it. "Our Yun University child is good at everything, but he's too arrogant and doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Isn't this Bei Yun the first one to suffer? He's very unruly." The dean snorted. He was already looking forward to the outcome of this group of arrogant people being beaten up by society. This time, the one who came up with the exam paper is Professor Smith, who transferred from Neely University. I won't let him show mercy. I have to teach this group of immature brats a lesson. In the living room, Hoshidu was listening to the economic news as he casually scanned the documents in his hand. Only old Master Fernanz's face darkened with anger. He leaned on his walking stick and said angrily, "What do you mean by this? I know you don't have a good relationship with Roland, but is there anyone who would send their biological father to jail like this?" Zhou Yu frowned and instinctively defended him. "Old Master, this has nothing to do with Master Du." As soon as he finished speaking, Hoshidu glanced at him unhurriedly, making Zhou Yu immediately shut his mouth and stop talking. "It has nothing to do with you? If it has nothing to do with you, then who else in Yuncheng can touch Roland?" Fernanz did not believe it. He had always been angry and heartbroken at his biological grandson. He felt sorry for Hoshidu for not doing well, but he was also angry that he always acted on his own. He did not care who said it. The assistant who had been following Tang Boyang saw that Hoshidu did not intend to explain, so he could only say, "Old Master, it has nothing to do with Mr. Hua. It's mainly because of the young lady from the Qin family in Yuncheng." As soon as he finished speaking, the man who had been silent suddenly raised his pale-colored eyes. His gaze made one's heart palpitate. The assistant felt a chill in his heart. He subconsciously lowered his head and did not dare to say anything bad about Bei Yun. "Miss Qin?" Fernanz thought for a while before he suddenly remembered. "Is that girl Bei Yun?" Zhou Yu saw Fernanz looking over and immediately turned his head guiltily. However, Fernanz understood. It was actually Bei Yun who did it. At this moment, the man sitting on the sofa turned off the television and slowly said, Grandfather wants to interfere, so I won't stand by and do nothing. This was the first time Hoshidu had called him that, so Fernans was stunned for a moment. But he quickly realized what was going on. Didn't Hoshidu's words mean that he was obviously siding with an outsider and saying that he would protect that brat? Fernans' face immediately darkened. I really have a good grandson. Fernans could not suppress his anger. Alright. Then let me ask you, how did Roland provoke that girl? Why are you so cruel? Hoshidu asked. Why don't you go and ask? Seeing the two of them arguing, the old butler, who had been silent, also spoke up in a low voice. Sir, it seems like it's because Miss Pei's biological grandfather was poisoned and is still in a coma. It's related to Roland. What? Fernan's expression changed. When he looked at Hoshidu, he realized that this was true. Next. Just as Fernans was speaking in a low voice, if that's the case, I'm sure that girl won't be able to sleep these few days. She must be feeling heavy-hearted. For the sake of her family, she has no choice but to. Suddenly, a casual voice came from the corridor outside. Aunt Meow, hello Aunt Meow. Have you seen where my good brother is? Aunt Meow suppressed the corners of her lips that were curling up desperately and coughed. She gestured for Bei Yunj, who was blowing bubble gum and holding a bag of snacks in her pocket, to look inside. Bei Yunj subconsciously turned around and looked at 4 or 5 people coldly. Chapter 14-17. For a moment, the atmosphere fell into an awkward silence. Then, the man lowered his peach blossom eyes and walked out to Bei Yunj's side. He saw that Bei Yunj was chewing bubble gum silently and did not say a word. He found it funny and casually used his long fingers to stroke the black hair by her cheek. What's wrong? Bei Yunj looked at the man in front of her. She felt that this person was up to no good, but she still said, It's a little embarrassing. As expected, the man's originally indifferent expression disappeared. He could not help but lower his head and bend down to press his forehead against the little girl's neck. Bei Yunj was very sensitive at this moment and was vaguely angry from embarrassment. Hoshidu. She was expressionless. You're secretly laughing. Brother isn't. The man's clear breath was filled with a magnetic smile. Bei Yunj felt the man's short hair on her neck. It was a little ticklish and her ears slowly turned red. Dog man. The man held Bei Yunj's hand and slowly inserted his fingers into hers. This action was indescribably ambiguous. He suddenly spoke leisurely. Yunyun, don't scold people secretly. Bei Yunj wanted to scold him even more. Seeing that the little girl was really unhappy, Hoshidu immediately coaxed her intimately. However, his laughter was low and hoarse. His light tone was seductive and seemed to be teasing the wind beside her ear. It's okay. Didn't my good brother come to pick up our Yunyun? Back in the living room. Fernans was already sitting on the sofa, drinking the tea made by the old butler. Why are you here? Fernan's tone was not good, as if he did not welcome Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj's face was not red and her heart was not beating fast. The exam is in a few days. I want to go home and ask my brother to help me revise. This sentence shocked Joyu. Miss Pei's ability to brag without thinking was getting better and better. Fernans asked in disbelief, Don't tell me you repeated your year again? Bei Yunj, the scene fell silent. Especially the assistant Tang Boyong called to complain. Seeing that not only did Fernans not find trouble with Bei Yunj, but he also cared about whether others had repeated their year, the corners of his mouth could not help but twitch. Those who did not know would think that Bei Yunj was his biological granddaughter. Not this time. Bei Yunj glanced at Hoshidu slowly. Older brother taught me well. As soon as she finished speaking, Joyu glanced at the man whose expression was normal and allowed Bei Yunj to fool around. His eyelids twitched uncontrollably. Sir, you are so concerned about me. Bei Yunj's lazy words sounded like she was sighing, making Fernan's face turn red. Fernans? Bei Yunj. Then the old master changed the topic as if he was firing at Hoshidu again. If we, the Fernans family, can't even teach our own wife well, how can we hope to teach our future children well? Hoshidu glanced at Bei Yunj casually and said, I will teach them well. Bei Yunj turned to look at him. Fernans was satisfied, but the assistant was anxious. He immediately lowered his voice and said, Sir, then Mr. Roland why? Do you think the surnamed Fernans is Roland's protection? The old master's tone was calm, but it carried a dignity that brooked no argument. Chapter 14-18. The assistant wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end he shut his mouth. Since this matter has something to do with the Qin family, let the little girl's family investigate. Fernand's tone was calm. Our Fernand's family can't afford to lose face like this. Bei Yunj subconsciously looked at Fernand's. She did not expect the old master to say that. The old butler looked at Fernand's, but his heart was as clear as a mirror. Although the old master was a good person, he was still protective of his children. The old master was determined to make Tang Boyang accept the punishment because he really liked Miss Pei. He did not want his grandson's marriage to be ruined because of Tang Boyang's mistake. In the end, the person the old master felt most guilty about was still the young master. Fernand's looked at Bei Yunj. Girl, how is your grandfather? Bei Yunj said, he will be cured. Fernand's nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. When he looked at Bei Yunj, his tone was serious and a little sour. Girl, you can't bully him because of this. Someone doesn't even care if he betrays his family for you. Bei Yunj heard this and looked at Huashidu beside her. He continued, whatever mistake Roland made, I'll make him bear the consequences. Fernand's left. In the car, the old butler couldn't help but say, Sir, actually, you dote on Mr. Roland very much. You can ask Miss Pei. Fernand shook his head. He looked much older than before, but his silver-white hair was still combed neatly, like a refined old gentleman from the last century. Chumi, I did a lot of wrong things in the past, so much so that I'll live with the guilt of my conscience for the rest of my life. His wrinkled hands were like the bark of an old tree, and his fingers rubbed his walking stick. I betrayed God. Some sins and punishments can only end with my life. He had let his wife down. He had also let Roland's mother down, and he had not taught Roland well. Therefore he did not want Huashidu to have any more regrets. Brother seems to have found out earlier than me. Bei Yunj looked straight at the man, not questioning him. The man looked at her sideways. Although he didn't admit it, the way he looked at her was deliberately teasing her. Bei Yunj thought of Fernand's words just now and did not intend to force Huashidu to admit it. Instead, she could not help but laugh. Just as Huashidu thought that the young lady was about to fly into a rage out of humiliation, Bei Yunj suddenly walked towards him. She only tugged at his sleeve with one hand and leaned her head against his firm and warm chest. The man paused for a moment. He lowered his peach blossom eyes without saying a word, dark and gloomy emotions brewing in his eyes. Bei Yunj leaned against his chest and scrupulously and rubbed against him intimately. There was a rare hint of dependence in her voice. Brother, I don't dare to bet on everything. She was also afraid. He was afraid that this matter would make this person unhappy. To Huashidu, the little girl's intimacy was more like a bewitching potion that made people lose their rationality. The man's sexy Adam's apple with a clear mole couldn't help but move. He closed his eyes and suppressed the desire in his eyes. Huashidu reached out and tugged at the back of the little girl's collar. He was not rude, but it was obvious that the man had lost his usual restraint. The next moment he picked up Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj subconsciously hooked her arms around his neck and was placed on the table. Huashidu raised his eyes, which could not suppress the black tide, and looked into the little girl's eyes. The moment he spoke, his voice was low and hoarse, with an uncontrollable desire that Bei Yunj had never heard before. Bei Yunj, don't give your bottom line to anyone. The man's eyes were still unclear. Including me. Do you understand? Chapter 14:19. Huashidu looked at the dazed young lady in front of him and tried his best to disperse the darkness in his eyes. For the first time he detested himself. He was not a good person either. He knew how despicable and absurd he was, but he still used despicable methods to seduce a young lady who did not know the ways of the world. He wanted to drag her into hell and let her feel the dirtiest desire buried in his body. However, he thought about how flowers bloomed wherever she went. She was full of glory and love. Brother! Bei Yunj suddenly shouted. She deliberately leaned close to his ear and used a tone that was even more deadly to men. The man had long been used to the young lady's nonsense. In the next moment he lowered his eyes. He carelessly scratched the young lady's chin, indicating for her to be obedient. No one knew. His selfishness was a love that even the gods avoided. However, it was tamed by the young lady and turned into an evil dragon that pulled out its claws and teeth. Huashidu looked at the ignorant young lady in front of him. The darkness in his eyes faded bit by bit. He suddenly laughed softly and held her hand casually. His voice sounded inexplicably explicit and sexy in her ears. Yinyan, have you thought it through? Have you decided how to play with my life? When these words came out of the man's mouth, there was an inexplicable ambiguity. At Yun University. What's wrong with you? You look like you've been sucked dry by a male demon? Su Xianing's lips twitched when she saw Bei Yunji's daydreaming expression. Bei Yunji held her cheek inside. I wanted to. Su Xianing choked on her soy milk. Could she be more reserved? However, when she thought about Bei Yunji's boyfriend, it was indeed difficult for her to control herself. You guys haven't done that yet? After regaining her senses, Su Xianing leaned over sneakily. Is it because your President Hua is old-fashioned, or is it because there might be a problem? Bei Yunji. After sensing Bei Yunji's cold gaze, Su Xianing felt a chill on her neck and immediately said, I'm just concerned about you. The sooner this problem is solved, the sooner it will be solved. Bei Yunji turned around and said impatiently, he's fine. It was not that Huashidu did not react to her. However, every time he was about to fire, Huashidu would rather take a cold shower. Bei Yunji, could it be that he thought she was incapable? I'm afraid that President Hua still treats you like a child, Su Xianing said casually, but her words hit Bei Yunji right where it hurt. Bei Yunji. Su Xianing once again felt a certain master's death stare. It can't be right? Do you have to be like this even when you're telling the truth? As the atmosphere gradually turned cold, Su Xianing suddenly raised her hand. I have a solution. When Bei Yunji heard this, she just looked at her calmly for a while and sneered softly. This kind of extremely mocking laughter immediately provoked Su Xianing. What do you mean? Are you looking down on me? No, Bei Yunji replied perfunctorily. Su Xianing, this bastard. Su Xianing took a deep breath and suppressed her temper. She smiled slightly. Don't doubt me. When you find an opportunity, I guarantee that President Hua won't be able to tolerate it. Bei Yunji pursed her lips. She did not believe Su Xianing's nonsense. However, she did not expect Su Xianing to really start preparing seriously. The final exams were approaching. Even the students of Yun University did not look relaxed. They wished that they could stay in the library for the next few weeks. Chapter 1420. In the library. Hai Ning scanned her surroundings and checked the situation of the class. She asked casually, where's Bei Yunji? Meng Wenwen chuckled. She's the top scholar. Why would she care about this final exam? Hearing this, Hai Ning pursed her lips and tightened her grip on the book. This semester, no one in the class was as hardworking as she was, and no one knew how hard she had worked to beat everyone else. Especially Bei Yunji. Meng Wenwen suddenly noticed Hai Ning's expression and immediately said, Ning, I heard that the professors in the department intend to increase the difficulty of this exam, especially for this batch of third-year students. Bei Yunji doesn't even revise. She will definitely be eliminated this time. How amazing is it to be talented? How can she compare to you, Ning? Hai Ning's expression improved. She just opened her book and continued to revise. Then she smiled and said, I don't value these things. I just hope that I can learn more. Actually, Hai Ning and the rest were not the only ones paying attention to Bei Yunji. Even the students from the other classes were paying attention to this top scholar who skipped class every day. They heard that this top scholar was even more arrogant than the previous top scholars. She basically didn't attend class. However, there was a top scholar rule at Yun University. Every year, as long as the top scholar of the college entrance examination was extremely arrogant, they would not be able to enter the top 3 during the first-year final exam. This might be the first beating of the chosen one who was about to enter society. Hence, some people from the physics department even made private bets. How many places could this top scholar's father enter? When everyone thought of Bei Yunji's arrogant and unbridled personality, most people bet on the top 5 and some bet on the top 10. Anyway, there were very few people who bet on the top 3, let alone first place. At the same time, Bei Yunji, who was being treated as a gambler, was busy in the laboratory and did not even look up. Si Qingyan chewed on an apple as he watched the school news. He glanced at Bei Yunji, who was so focused that she ignored everything. I say, why are you so stubborn and insist on going to the physics department? Aren't you graduating with your eyes closed? Si Qingyan was puzzled. Bei Yunji had been studying at Yun University to confuse people with ulterior motives. After all, no one would have thought that the new scientific researcher of Country A was actually a freshman at Yun University. This arrangement was also for Bei Yunji's safety. However, they were both studying at Yun University. Bei Yunji was in the computer science department, which was much more convenient than the physics department. Professor C, that's enough. If it weren't for my dedication to scientific research, my grandfather would have sent me to the finance department. Bei Yunj had just taken off her goggles and latex gloves when she spoke slowly. Si Qingyan was speechless. Bei Yunj's patience with her elders was even scarier than some parents' love for their children. However, after hearing this, Si Qingyan realized that old Master Qin really doted on Bei Yunj. She probably wanted Bei Yunj to study finance because she was afraid that her 3 brothers might not treat Bei Yunj well after she passed away. He still wanted to give the company's shares to Bei Yunj. Si Qingyan clicked his tongue, amused by old master's partiality. Why was this old master guarding against his own grandson as if he was an outsider? Until the 3rd year's final exam began. The students in the 2nd examination hall suddenly noticed an unfamiliar face and couldn't help but take another look at Bei Yunj in the 3rd row. Damn. Someone became excited. This seems to be Bei Yunj. Chapter 14:21. Bei Yunj. The 3rd-year seniors were confused. Why was a 1st-year student here? The senior beside them was very excited. She's the 1st-year top scorer. His words also attracted the attention of the other top scorer of the college entrance examination. The 3rd-year top scorer asked in a strange tone, "Junior, are you here to revise?" Bei Yunj laughed softly and said lazily, "I have some private matters to attend to, so I came to take the exam in advance." As soon as she finished speaking, the atmosphere suddenly fell into a strange silence. The 3rd-year students? Was it appropriate for her to speak in such a casual tone, friend? They had long heard that the top scorer of this cohort was unbelievably wild, but they didn't expect her to come to the 3rd-year exam so arrogantly. Was she planning to go to heaven? Perhaps because the top scorer met, the atmosphere became inexplicably awkward. The top scorer put on a smile on his face, but his tone became more ambiguous. "Is that so? Junior, do you know that the top scorer of the college entrance examination every year tends to perform poorly in the 1st-year final exam?" Speaking of this, Huang Hingyuan seemed even more superior. It was rumored that Huang Hingyuan was the only top scorer of Yun University in the past few years who had been in the 1st place for 3 years. Therefore, before Bei Yunj entered the university, Huang Hingyuan's popularity in the school was not inferior to Bei Yunj's. Huang Hingyuan's words were clearly telling Bei Yunj that she might not even do well in the 1st-year final exam. Bei Yunj said perfunctorily and leaned back lazily. Her eyes were indescribably unrestrained and unrestrained. "I don't know." As soon as she finished speaking, the other 3rd-year students were speechless. In the past, in the eyes of the freshmen, they would be respectfully addressed as seniors. When they met the members of the student union, they would also obediently praise them. However, when this person sat here, her aura inexplicably suppressed the others and made them speechless. Moreover, they felt that the way Bei Yunj looked at them seemed to be saying, "This group of seniors is not good enough." The 3rd-year students, F***CK, they had never met such an arrogant person in their lives. After the exam began, these 3rd-year students suddenly wanted to laugh wildly when they saw the computer test paper. The new top scorer definitely didn't know that the 3rd-year final exam had a special scope. Didn't they, the 3rd-year students, spend all night in the library for nothing? Thinking of this, the group of students became even more fired up and began to answer the questions crazily. The dignity of the 3rd-year seniors must be maintained. However, half an hour later, the 3rd-year seniors who had yet to establish their dignity withered. Looking at the remaining half of the questions, they almost blacked out. Professor Smith was a ruthless man. Was this paper for a human? Meanwhile, Huang Zui was drinking tea with the other professors in the physics department's 3rd-year supervisor's office. "I bet these kids won't be able to finish it in less than an hour." Smith's face was filled with pure joy. Huang Zui's mouth twitched at Smith's Chinese. The other professors were obviously too excited. "When I received this question, it took me more than an hour to solve it." Smith was really ruthless. "This time, won't these brats obediently admit defeat?" Another professor agreed. "If we don't suppress them, they'll really think they're Huntington. They'll think that they'll each have a Norstein Physics Award." They had to suppress the arrogance of these brats. Suddenly, Smith looked at another professor. "Olda, what are you refreshing over there? How could someone hand in the paper at this time?" "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."